Hi there, I'm Brittany Giles, your tech ambassador, and I'm going to go over what a buyer presentation would look like if you were to do one in person. Keep in mind that this is an abbreviated version, but I just want you to get pretty much the main points across and to get an idea of what to do, what order to do your presentation in, and things of that nature. This is Ben Giles, my handsome husband, assisting us as our mock buyer today. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
Hey Ben, it's nice to meet you.
Nice
Thank
to meet
you
you
so much for coming today.
Absolutely.
So I'm so glad that you are ready to look into buying a home.
Can't wait.
And before we got here, I had mentioned, hey, we're going to take a look at the house, but before we leave, I do have some paperwork that I'm going to go over with you. So it's for that fun time right now.
Okay.
Keep in mind that this first paper is just to keep things legal. It even says here it's not a contract. If any agent is doing their job correctly, they're going to do this, go over this form with you before talking to you about anything, especially that's personal or financial, because you need to know what your rights are. Basically, this form protects you from you. It's our consumer notice. So just really quick, a seller's agent, they are contracted by a seller to help sell their home. So the realtor is working in the best interest of the seller. A buyer's agent, such as myself in this scenario, I am contracted through a buyer's agency contract with a buyer to help represent them on the purchase side of their home. A dual agent is when one realtor represents both seller and buyer. You can imagine that things can get a little sticky there. Some agents do dual agency. Personally, I only represent one side at a time, so that way I know that each side feels like they're equally represented and that everybody is getting a fair representation at the closing table.
Okay.
A designated agent is an agent who's designated to work for a client. An example of that would be, let's say I had a listing and you really wanted to see that listing, but I'm contracted to work for you as your buyer's agent. In that case, I would designate another agent in my office who I know is going to do really well for you to represent you for that home only, because I'm already representing the seller. I know all their financials. It wouldn't be fair for me to represent both of you. So that would be an example of a designated agent.
Okay.
Do you have any questions so far?
Not so far. It all makes sense.
Perfect. A transaction licensee, we don't really practice this too much, but basically it's when an agent just fills out the paperwork, kind of like an attorney for your real estate needs. Here on the back side, I call these the 10 commandments of real estate agents. Just to pull out a couple, we need to deal honestly and in good faith. We always need to comply with real estate seller disclosure law. What that means for you is anytime that you see a home for sale, that seller has to provide a seller disclosure, which is a document that outlines everything and anything that they know about the home, whether good or bad, right? Do they get water in the basement? How old's the furnace? Do they know the age of the roof? Things like that. So we're always going to make sure that you see that seller disclosure before writing an offer. And my preference, I try to get those to you before you even see the home. Many times you can rule out a house just based on this seller disclosure alone.
Okay.
Perfect. This section here basically states that all numbers in blank spaces in a real estate contract are negotiable. And then the real estate recovery fund is there to protect you. This is a really long run-on sentence, so I'm just going to give you an example. If you were to be in a real estate transaction and a real estate agent committed a lie or misrepresentation, and that misrepresentation caused you financial harm. Let's just say they were like, hey, this is a great house, brand new roof, and you took it, you said to yourself, oh, they must know what they're talking about because they're a real estate agent. You buy the house and then a week later you find out that it's a 10-year-old roof. You can sue them in civil court if the civil court says, you know what, that real estate agent knowingly lied to you and caused you financial harm. They owe you $5,000. If that real estate agent doesn't pony up, you call this phone number here. The Real Estate Recovery Fund actually works to reimburse you. They'll go after the real estate agent who were supposed to originally pay you. They'll go after them for the funds, and they'll also take away their license for 5 years.
Wow.
It's very serious, and really it's there to let you know that there are laws and things in place to protect you when you're making the biggest transaction of your life.
Cool.
This phone number is going to be on almost every document that you sign.
All right.
So by signing this, you're just acknowledging that you've received it. You're not agreeing to anything or in any type of contract. It just keeps us legal, so that way if I'm ever audited, the Real Estate Commission can see that I did go over this consumer notice with you before going over anything else.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Now we get to the good stuff. So this is your guide to home ownership, and you're going to be able to keep this after today. We have an app that you can download. In that app, you'll find a guide that lets you know at what step you're at in your home search. You can also search for homes and browse neighborhoods. And then, of course, you can save homes that you're finding in collections and share them with me, so that way we can schedule showings.
Okay.
So first, I'd love to ask you just a couple of questions. And those questions would be, when is the best time to reach you? How do you prefer to be contacted? And how often would you like to receive emails from me? Next, we're going to go over the steps of buying a home. First step is you're going to get pre-approved. And then you're going to work with your lender to go through, I should say, cost sheets, so that way you understand all the costs that are expected in your purchase.
Okay.
They're also going to work with you if you have any credit issues. They're going to kind of help pinpoint some things where they might say, hey, if you pay down this credit card, you might get a better interest rate. So that's step one, is getting pre-approved. Step two is we're going to put together your buyer profile and figure out what home is going to be your best match. So I'm going to ask you questions like, in your budget, which we'll find out from the pre-approval, are you looking for a single family home? Are you looking for a 1-story, a 2-story? Does it have to have a garage, a basement? I want to know all the nitty gritties, so that way we can set up a search for you that matches your needs exactly.
That's when we get to the fun stuff.
That's when we get to the fun stuff.
All right.
And then after that, as you're getting emails, you're going to let me know, hey, these are the homes that I'd like to see. Now keep in mind, I'm also in the process of searching for off-market properties for you. So even though you're receiving these emails, letting you know, hey, this house that matched your criteria just came up for sale, every morning I'm also making phone calls trying to find that home for you as well that may not be listed just yet. Okay, but you'll let me know when you see a home that you want to see. I'll send you some basic paperwork like a seller's disclosure, like I mentioned earlier, so that way you can make sure you definitely still want to go look at it. We're going to go check out the home, do a tour, and if you love it, that's when we're going to write an offer. At the writing offer stage, I'm going to pull comparable properties. And what that means is, let's say you're looking at 123 Main Street. I'm going to look at all the homes that have sold in the last 700 to 800 days that are a lot like 123 Main Street. So if it's a single family ranch, I'm going to look for single family ranches within a 3-mile radius. I'm going to send them to you to help you understand what homes are selling for. And then we're also going to discuss the dynamic market that we're in, so that way I can help you figure out a price. Ultimately, though, the decision is always yours, how much you want to offer on a home. Okay. If you are the lucky winner and you go under contract, these are all the different steps that you'll go through under contract. For example, home inspections, you're going to want to make sure that you go through all the lender's paperwork. They're going to have a whole underwriting process to get you approved. And then, of course, there's a title search and just a couple other steps that we'll make sure that you stay in line with. So you don't have to memorize all of this. We're going to make sure that you're on task. But if you read through it, it just gives you an idea of, hey, what can I expect in this process? Basically, looking at the map before you take the drive.
Cool. So I can just hold on to this and check things off as we get through them, so I know what's next.
Exactly. And that's also in your guide in your app. So if you don't want to have paper all the time, you can just pull up the app and check off as you go through the process. It's super simple.
Awesome.
And then these are just some expectations before you close. For example, you'll have to transfer funds for closing. We'll make sure that you get your utilities switched over. I have a moving concierge that will give you a call and help you get all of your utilities set up. Of course, we'll do a final walkthrough the day of or the day before closing. I do that as close to closing as possible, so that way when you go to closing and you sign that big stack of paperwork, you know that you're ready. You got to see it one last time. There were no defects after the home inspection that were put in the home. It's a very rare occurrence, but it just makes you feel better about taking that final walkthrough before you go sign the paperwork. Once you sign the paperwork, it's yours.
All right.
This is a reminder of what you need to bring to closing day. Bring your government issue ID. You definitely want to bring proof of homeowner's insurance. You don't have to worry about copy of contract. I'll take care of that for you. And you always want to bring your checkbook with you just in case numbers are off by a couple bucks. Okay, do you have any questions?
No, not right now.
That's awesome. Just a couple tips on financing for your home. Your lender's probably going to go over this with you, but here's a couple quick do's and do nots. You want to be as honest as possible with your lender of any salary or wage changes as we go through the home buying process, whether you increase or decrease. You also want to make sure that you acquire homeowner's insurance immediately after you go under contract. No worries, you don't have to pay for it until the day of closing, but it's good to get that ready to go. And you'll always want to keep all forms of debt paid on time and in check, because one late payment while you're under contract can derail a whole transaction. So you really want to stay on top of your bills, as you should all the time, but during the under contract phase, got to be Johnny on the spot.
Got ya.
Some things that you definitely don't want to do. You don't want to make large purchases. You don't want, especially using credit, okay? So if you're going to the store and they say, hey, save 10% today if you sign up for a credit card, you're going to say no, because you also don't want to open up any new credit.
Okay.
This includes leasing vehicles. A lot of times people think, oh, well, it's a lease. They still have to pull your credit. It still shows as debt. And I unfortunately have had people not be able to buy a home because they leased a vehicle. I joke with folks, you're living on macaroni and cheese and hot dogs until closing, but the truth of the matter is you can never have too many funds in your savings account before buying a house. Okay. Any questions there?
So if I go to Kohl's and they offer me to get that credit card, is that going to affect me? Is that just a no?
That's a great question. It doesn't affect you by them offering it. Just as soon as you tell them, hey, sorry, I'm in the process of buying a house, they won't hassle you anymore.
Okay. So absolutely no store credit cards?
No store credit cards. I don't care if you're saving $1,000. It can wait.
Okay.
Yep. Don't order furniture. Don't have, we've had people buy like a whole thing of furniture and they get like the interest-free financing for a year. It still shows up as debt. It's just better to wait until after closing. You might have to sit in a home without furniture for a couple weeks, but it's a lot better than derailing the whole transaction.
Sounds good.
If you're interested, we do have Keller Mortgage. It's only offered to consumers working with a Keller Williams agent. If you go through them, they don't utilize lender fees. So they don't have any lender fees, which can save you a couple $1,000s in closing costs. Super easy to apply. You can actually apply right from your app if you'd like.
Okay.
Your trusted partner, this is just reminding you that it's my promise to you that from the day that you partner with me to be your real estate agent, I'm going to guide you through the transaction. I'm going to be there for you through the little things, the big things. Sometimes going through a transaction, we might hit a couple bumps in the road, just like when you're traveling, right? There's a couple hiccups. I'm there to guide you through those hiccups. And that way, when you get to the closing table, you're going to feel like you were taken care of and that you had a great experience.
All right.
I cannot guarantee that the transaction will be smooth in the sense that we won't run into a hiccup, right? But I can guarantee that I'm going to help you get through it. I've sold over 100 homes in the last 3 years. With that comes a lot of experience.
Cool. Not now, Mom.
Mom's checking in on you. And then my promise to you, if I get you to that closing table, right, which I'm definitely going to do, and I'm going to give you the best customer service as possible. The only way that my business continues is through referrals. So if I keep my promise to you, all I ask is that within 6 months to a year, you refer your friends or family to me. So that way I also can help serve them and give them a great experience too.
Yeah, you got it.
Just a couple things about being involved in our community. We do give back through Red Day, and we also have other community service events that we do together. It's just our part of giving back.
Okay.
This is just a page on searching safely. So if you're ever worried about COVID and social distancing through while searching for houses. This page will talk about that. And then this is just for you to look into, as a real estate agent, oftentimes we use realtor, slur, if you will, and you may be like, well, what does APR mean? Well, here it is. So it's kind of like your real estate dictionary to help you get through some of the terms that we're going to be throwing around.
Okay.
Any other questions?
What do I do now?
That's a great question. So the next step would be for us to enter into an agreement together to allow me to work for you. This is our buyer agency contract. You can see here it has the broker's info and my info. Any realtor that you meet with is going to go over this contract with you. And the reason for that is we cannot speak openly and freely about real estate without having this signed. This is what allows me to represent you.
Okay.
You're going to put your info here. We're going to have a start date and an end date because no contract is legal, right, without some dates. You'll see here our fees. Keep in mind that this fee is paid by the seller. In the event that a seller is not paying a fee, I'm going to let you know that before we even walk through the door. So that way you're always aware of what your costs are going to be.
Okay.
Dual agency, again, I went over that on the consumer notice. I don't practice dual agency. Broker services to others. This just means that I'm allowed to serve other clients. Entire contract, everything needs to be in writing. Transfer of this contract, that's only if our broker were to stop doing business. Confidentiality, by signing this agreement, anything that you share with me is held in confidence. Not the same as attorney-client privilege. So if you break the law, Benjamin, I can't hold that in. But if you tell me, hey, Brittany, I want to offer $200,000 on this house, but I'd go as high as $210,000, that information stays between us.
Okay.
Expertise.
So you're not calling your friend saying, 210, you got to be 210.
Yeah.
All right.
Come back at 211. Expertise of real estate agents. If I know, I share. If I don't know, I point you in the right direction of the person who does. Okay? Deposit money. Whenever you go under contract, you do have to put forth what's called an earnest deposit. That deposit says to the sellers that, hey, I'm super interested in buying your home. Here's X amount of dollars that you can hold in your listing agent's escrow account until closing. Should I get cold feet, wake up and say, you know what, I don't want this deal, or walk away for no reason that my offer is contingent on, they get to keep that money.
Okay.
Keep in mind, I'm going to guide you through that transaction to make sure you get your money back. But you don't want to write an offer on a home unless you know you want to move forward, because if we don't walk away for a reason that your offer is contingent on, you are at risk to lose that money.
Okay.
Civil Rights Act, the only color that matters in real estate is green. Notice regarding convicted sex offenders. If you're worried about sex offenders around a neighborhood that you're purchasing in, just check out PA Megan's Law. Buyer's inspections, I always advise you to get inspections. Just know you are buying a home in its present condition. Should the inspection uncover something that you can't discover through a basic walkthrough, that's when you can negotiate and I'll help work you through that.
Okay, so if they end up finding mold, then I'm not stuck with a moldy house.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, we can walk away on the basis of, hey, there's mold here, or you could ask the seller to repair.
Yeah.
Or, of course, give you maybe a price reduction or seller help for closing costs to help remediate.
Okay.
Yep. Great question. Recordings on the property. So this is a newer section in our buyer's agency contracts. Basically, it says that we're not allowed to be videotaped, especially with audio in a home, unless we're notified. So there needs to be like a sign at the door that says, hey, you're on camera, right?
Okay.
With that said, we have so many devices now that record video and audio that it's possible that a seller may not even realize it. Like a Ring doorbell. If you're standing right out front of someone's home and they have a Ring doorbell, they record audio. So word to the wise, we can talk about, hey, I love this paint color, or yeah, I love the sink, great closet space. You can say all that kind of stuff in a home. Let's talk numbers, over the phone, in the cars, on our way to the next showing, or at the office. Don't talk numbers in a house because you just never know when you might be recorded. Just best practices. Even though it's illegal, I would much rather you be safe than sorry. And lo and behold, recovery fund is mentioned again. And then you would just sign and date here. And then I would sign, and that would allow me to work for you.
All right.
All right. And so that is an example of a buyer consultation. I highly recommend these doing in the office rather than at a house or a showing. But of course you can do that if you'd like, it's your business. So you get to run it how you would want to. But just to give you an idea of how to go over the consumer notice, the step-by-step guide in buying a home, how to bring up your app in KW Mortgage or Keller Mortgage, and then of course how to go over that buyer's agency contract in person. Thank you so much for watching.